I ordered this Dummy 13 set. It was supposed to include 2 figures and an extra spider. Everything could be mixed, parts swapped, basically a really epic set. Potentially, it should have been insanely cool, but it turned out to be the most exhausting video I've ever made. Full of pain and suffering. Watch till the end, it's actually an epic video. I really hope you enjoy it. But here's what actually arrived from Temu. Just to be clear, I've ordered a lot of figures from Temu, and most of them were absolutely fine. This is the first real fail I've had, and that's exactly why I wanted to show it on the channel. When the set arrived and I saw that the figures weren't pre-assembled, but came in these plastic frames, I was actually excited. I thought it was cool. I love assembling things. I expected it to be interesting, but at some point, everything went completely wrong. While I was snapping off the parts, I remembered something. We already had one of the most popular videos on the channel dedicated to Dummy 13. That video has over 100,000 views. So when I ordered this set, I expected something similar in terms of quality. But it turned out to be something completely different. The plastic is totally different. To be fair, the plastic itself is actually quite nice, but it's completely unfinished. I had to spend a lot of time trimming and polishing the parts. And this was only the beginning of the pain. All the real suffering was still ahead. Of course, you know that I was going to compare this new dummy with the previous Dummy 13 figures. And right during the assembly, I immediately realized that the instructions were absolute nonsense. Confusing, poorly designed, and extremely inconvenient. I had to really strain my brain to figure out where everything was supposed to go. Eventually, I gave up, went online, found the official Dummy 13 instructions, and suddenly realized that what I actually had wasn't Dummy 13 at all, but Dummy 9. But that's not a huge problem. Structurally, they're pretty similar. After that, I continued the assembly, thinking it would now go quickly and smoothly, right up until I hit the first real problem. The parts didn't fit together. I had to start sanding. I sanded once. It didn't help. Sanded more. I had to apply a ridiculous amount of force just to get the parts in. My finger literally started to hurt. And then I finally managed to connect these parts.
Ooh. Ooh, yeah. Ooh.
At that point, I was already weirdly happy, because even if it's not obvious on camera, I had already spent a ton of time on this. But it turned out that this was only the beginning. Even more hardcore content was waiting for me. And then this part just refused to go in. Without the armor, without this blue piece, everything snapped together perfectly and worked fine. But as soon as I added the blue piece, it completely blocked everything. I spent almost half an hour trying to make the parts fit, but it just wouldn't work. Eventually, I took out heavier equipment, a sharp knife. Do not do this yourself. Only adults should ever do something like this. And honestly, even adults probably shouldn't. It would be much easier to just throw this unfinished set away. After wasting an entire hour and still failing to make the parts fit, I gave up and decided to assemble the dummy without this plate. I planned to modify it the next day because it was already very late. I still had the rest of the figure to assemble. But of course, by the end of the video, I did finish the assembly with this plate as well. So watch till the end, we'll give the final score, and you'll see the poses I managed to get with this figure. Next, I moved on to assembling the legs. In some places, I still had to apply a lot of force and sand the parts, but I didn't show all of that on camera. At some point, I was completely tilted and started aggressively and quickly forcing parts together. Some holes were almost entirely blocked with plastic. I literally had to drill into them. But in the end, all the parts fit together nicely. You could even say I got some kind of twisted pleasure out of it. But this is definitely not for kids. And honestly, not really for adults either. This is for sick people like me. To be honest, if I actually wanted to play like this, I would have just thrown the set away. Here I show that I inserted the lower part the wrong way, but that was the least of my problems during the assembly. The foot parts were also difficult to connect, but eventually everything worked out. Again, nothing fit. More sanding. And more, and more. In the end, it all came together. It was already 2 a.m. I was unbelievably tired, and every single part still had to be tortured, sanded, and adjusted. Guys, please leave a like. I really hope it supports this video at least a little. Otherwise, it will feel like I wasted an insane amount of time for nothing. And this still wasn't the end of the assembly. Adjusting every single part like this is pure hell. Do not buy this set. Never buy this set. You'll save your nerves. I was almost done with the figure, just a little bit left. I was really afraid that when attaching the hands, I'd run into the same problem as with the previous set, where one of the hands broke. That was really sad. The set also includes weapons and spare hands. I was really worried about the hands, but thankfully, there were no problems. The plastic here is actually even better than in the previous set. The earlier dummy figures had much harder plastic. Here, the plastic is quite flexible, which is actually great, less chance of breaking something. But look at this, the katana ended up slightly bent because of that. I had to apply a bit of force to straighten it. Overall, it turned out pretty well. I'm even happy with the result. I didn't have the energy to attach all the hands and show the final result that day. I was extremely sleepy, so I finished that part the next day. Moving on to the next day. As promised, I decided to finish working on the belly armor plate. For that, I used a rotary tool with this attachment and carefully sanded everything down, occasionally switching to a knife.
Woohoo!
And our dummy finally got the look the manufacturer originally intended. However, I noticed that the articulation was only in the hips, not in the chest. Let's quickly look at dummy 13 from the previous video. See how well the chest moves there? Here, that movement is completely missing. I had to sand the part even more. Some mobility appeared, but I decided not to push it further. At least there's some movement now, and that's already something. Let's take a final look at the result that took me 2 days to complete. Honestly, the figure looks cool. You can put it in all kinds of dynamic poses, just like dummy 13. In the end, I'm quite satisfied with the final result of this blue figure. It's fun and playable. But the assembly process itself is absolute hell. I absolutely do not recommend this set to anyone. I give it 2 stars, even though I'm happy with the final result. I hope you're happy too. This time I decided not to assemble the red version. Not because it's impossible, but because going through all of this again is honestly exhausting. But if this video gets 1,000 likes, I'll finish assembling the entire set. I'll build the full red figure, the spider, and combine everything into a Spider-Man style figure exactly like the manufacturer showed. but I just can't do this for nothing. It's really hard. So if we hit the likes, I'll do it. That way I'll know you're actually interested. Subscribe to the channel and see you in the next video. Bye.